Alright. Okay, Kevin, I don't have such a loud voice. I hope you'll be able to hear me. I'm speaking loud enough? Kevin, you could hear me? I hope I'm speaking loud enough. Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. This is a shiur that I once heard a few years ago, and I hope it's okay. Maybe the person who once gave it is going to be watching and he's going to let me know. I don't know. Anyhow, there's a story in Brachis. The Gemara in Brachis tells a story on Daf Nun Ches. Rav Sheshes, we know Rav Sheshes was blind. The Gemara tells over in Brachis that once once the king, obviously it was a Goyish, a king was once coming to town, and the whole yeshiva then got out of the yeshiva, and they were going to see the king. There was then an apikoros who comes to Rav Sheshes, and he tells Rav Sheshes, "Why are you going? You won't even be able to see the king." Rav Sheshes answers, and he tells him, "Trust me, I'll be able to see better than you." Comes B'shas Maisa, and everyone's waiting to see the king. And now this apikoros, it says that there was one big chariot, there was noise going by, the entourage of the king was coming by. This apikoros, this tells Rav Sheshes that the king is coming. Rav Sheshes says that the king is not here, this is not the king. The second chariot comes by. It says in the Gemara that the apikoros turns to Rav Sheshes and says the king is coming. Rav Sheshes says this is not the king. The third chariot then went, and it was very quiet. It says it wasn't making so much noise. Rav Sheshes says that the king is coming. So the apikoros turns to Rav Sheshes and says, "How do you know?" Rav Sheshes answers the famous words that Malchusa da'ara kein Malchusa da'rakia. We know that the Malchus in this world is similar to the Malchus of above. About Hashem it says, Loi beruach Hashem, Loi be'esh Hashem. There's a whole pasuk in Malachim, El b'kol d'mamay daki yeshama. The king is where it's silent and where it's noiseless. When the Melech was going past, Rav Sheshes, see, it says the bracha that you're supposed to say when you see a Jew, when you see a king by a non-Jew, the bracha is Nasan mikveidei lebasar v'dam. This apikoros tells Rav Sheshes, "What are you making a bracha? Who are you blessing? You can't even see." There's two girsayos over there in the Gemara. And anyhow, this apikoros ends up dying according to one of the girsayos. Now, the truth is, there's a whole sugya in halacha. The Shem discuss whether or not a blind person should make a bracha when you see if a blind person sees a king or knows that the king is in his presence. Should you make a bracha when you see the king? It's a whole sugya. But anyhow, you see from this story is how important it is to see a king. This story in the Gemara is even about a non-Jewish king. Even about a non-Jewish king, we see how important it is to go and see a non-Jewish king. The truth is, even in Orach Chaim, the Rambam brings it down, but even it's in Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, Siman Reish Chaf Dalet, it's brought down too that if a person sees a non-Jewish king, the bracha is you're supposed to make a bracha shenasa mikveidei lebasar v'dam. By a Jewish king, it's shechal. If you see Malchi Beis Dovid, shechalak mikveidei l'reyav. The Mepharshim over there discuss why is there a difference in brachas when you see a non-Jewish king or a Jewish king. So one of the answers is that the word shechal, the word nasan means that a person gives something away which he really has. You have something and you give it away. The word chalak doesn't necessarily mean you're giving away something which you have. Just like we are all a chelek elikami mal mamash, doesn't mean that Hashem gave us separated from Himself a portion. Rather, even though you have something, you're sharing it with somebody else. The difference between a non-Jewish king and a Jewish king is that by a Jewish king, Hashem takes from His glory and He gives it to another person, and the other person will eventually give it back to Hashem. The point of a Jewish king is that he is supposed to take Hashem's glory. He's supposed to add in, but for example, Hakel comes and he reads the Torah. He enhances Yira and Ava to all the Jewish people. So Hashem gives from Himself kavod to the king, but then that king will give it back to Hashem by restoring in Klal Yisrael Yiras Hashem and Avas Hashem. Whereas by a guy we say shenasan, because by a guy Hashem gives it away and Hashem's never going to get it back. Hashem takes from His own kavod and He gives it to another human being, and He's never going to get it back. But nevertheless, we see from the story how important it is even to see even a non-Jewish king. That Rav Sheshes went to see a non-Jewish king. Over there, even the Rashi says over there, and Rashi says over there says, and also it's brought down in Bes Yosef over there in Orach Chaim, that the reason why, even by a non-Jewish king, it's good to see, is that in order to appreciate that one day it says Misha Yiske, one day everyone will be zeicher that to have the ultimate Timus Moshiach, when we will have a Jewish king. You will only be able to appreciate the Malchus Rakir, the Malchus Da'arid. You'll only be able to appreciate what Mashiach is worth, what the Malchi Bis Dovid is worth, if you see beforehand you saw what a Goyish king was worth. If you see a Goyish, what a Goyish glory is all about, and then you're going to see what the Malchi Bis Dovid is all about. It's going to be in Arich. That's why even if you're blind, you should still go and see a Goyish king. I just want to say one story. I hope this is okay. I have a few more minutes left, yeah? I was told 10 minutes, okay. Just one more, just on this thing about seeing. I hope it's okay. I'm going to say a short story on Rebbe Dev of Belz. The Belz, Rebbe Dev was he was the third Belz Rebbe. He died, he passed away in the 1930s, I believe. Maybe 1940s. Anyhow, they say a story with him that one time back in Russia, or wherever it was, there was once a shtetl, there was a Jewish kid. He basically, he was living in a shtetl. He once went to the country, he went to the universities. Long story short, he became a big doctor and he fried out. I'm just saying the story very quickly. Anyhow, he completely fried out and he became a top doctor. Rebbe Dev of Belz, towards the end of his life, was going through I think it was hard conditions. Anyhow, the Hasidim, they wanted to go to the top doctor in the whole region, whatever. Anyhow, they didn't even know that this guy who was then a doctor, he changed his name, he changed his last name, he didn't even look Jewish. So anyhow, but he was a professional doctor. So they got him to operate on Rebbe Dev. Rebbe Dev had to travel by train to this place, because this guy wasn't going to travel to the Rebbe. Anyhow, he comes in, Rebbe Dev is on a bed, and he starts speaking to this guy. He tells him, "Tell me, are you Jewish?" So he says, "Yeah, by the way, I'm Jewish." So he starts speaking. Why did you fry out? What happened? Why did you leave Judaism? Do you believe in Hashem? He asks him. And he says, "Yeah, I actually do believe there's a God in the world." So he asks him, "So what made you fry out?" So he says, "It's because I don't believe in the whole concept of Moshiach." So Rebbe Dev asks him, "Why not?" So he says, "We were taught about Moshiach that there's going to be one man in the world, and he's going to be able to change the entire world. That doesn't make sense. One man should be able to change the entire world. For me, that's ludicrous. It doesn't make sense. It's stupidity. It's nonsense." Rebbe Dev takes this man and he asks him, "Come here." He holds his hand and he says, "Look at me in my eyes." So the man looks at Rebbe Dev in the eyes. Rebbe Dev stares at him for a few moments, and then he asks him, "Do you believe that there's one man able to change the world?" And this man, after looking at Rebbe Dev's eyes for a few moments, he was overcome with awe, whatever, and he says, yeah, I believe one man can change the world. Anyhow, Rebbe Dev there's two sides. Either the operation failed and he died on the way through, or it was successful and he died on the train on the way back. And this guy became a Baal Tshuva. And you see again from the story, how when you look at even at a tzaddik's eyes, when you look at a tzaddik, what important it is. So when you look at a non-Jewish king, even nowadays, what it brings to Moshiach, anyhow, we should be zeicher. I hope that's okay. To see the Rebbe very soon. Again, be in the Rebbe's presence from Moshiach and Moshiach the name of Rabbeinu Melech Moshiach Le'Devar. Moshiach the name of Rabbeinu Melech Moshiach Le'Devar. Moshiach the name of Rabbeinu Melech Moshiach Le'Devar.